Well, thank you very much, and welcome to Where Are They Now? And we know where this guy is, so it's not a big secret. But as we've been telling you for the last hour or two, Mack Butler, former, I guess now, Director of Football Operations at Oklahoma State, but a fixture in this football program, not only at Oklahoma State, but statewide. And I guess they'd even claim you in Louisiana too, Mack. But anyway, Mack Butler joins us here, and about 5 days into retirement. How's it going?
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate you asking me to be on, and it's good. Jackie is thrilled with it, and my little guy Jesse, he can't get over himself that Daddy's getting to pick him up and be there, and so I'm thrilled and I'm looking forward to it.
We were talking before you came on, and I say it's rare. I shouldn't say this because maybe it happens more than I know. But for one guy to do 2 tours of duty at one school and leaving and coming back, I don't know. Is that something that's rare in your neck of the woods and what you were doing?
Well, I don't know statistics here, but I know from different people and the profession, coaches, that is not one of the norms out there. And I always felt like, and my mom and daddy, I'll always be appreciative to them because, you always wanted to have empathy for people, and you always wanted to know that when you left in good standing, and that there was relationships built that would carry on. And I appreciated certainly the first tour, my goodness, and then this last one is great, and great story, great run. We could talk a long time. I can tell some good stories. We'll have to do this again because I don't have all the time today.
We'll get into some of the good stories, though, on both sides here at Oklahoma State. But I want to, and you've been asked a million times how difficult it was to go to LSU, so I'm not going to ask you 1,000,001. But what about the reverse? How difficult was it, leaving Baton Rouge to come back here?
Well, that's they had been extremely nice, and as you continue to advance in a profession, the compensation improves.
Yes,
and then that is attractive. But there were opportunities back in my career where I didn't go to places and compensation was probably better because I didn't want to leave things that I felt like were not completed, and it was tough, Les and all the people there have been great friends to me, and so it meant a lot. And Coach Gundy asking if I would entertain it, and Coach after the 1985 football season, Coach Gundy was the quarterback for the '86 All-State game,
mm-hmm.
and there was a coach on the other side, myself. And, it wasn't fair. I always told him that because his high school coach was the coach for his All-State team. And, he just got to run his offense, and there wasn't, it was like, hey, I'm putting this in, and he knew it all. So, yeah, I felt like there was a disadvantage there, and we always had some good laughs about it. So I'd known Mike a long time, coached against him when I was at Tulsa, and he was at OSU playing. So it was a good relationship, and I appreciated the call.
The bottom line, obviously, is they wanted you back, and that's got to be uplifting in itself. Kind of contrast, not compare. I don't think that's right to have you do that. But how about contrast the years you spent at LSU and the high celebrity, high visibility? If you lost a quarter, it was probably the end of the world down there, and much less lose a game. But what was it like? Being there just for the time that you were there. I mean, it's got to be like ultra excitement, isn't it?
Well, there's some good stories. One of the things I always commented about was that they start getting right, if you get my quotes here, on Thursday. That they and then on Sunday morning they would still be there. They would allow them to tailgate through the night, Saturday night, and all the tailgates would have to be gone because there would be the prison was not but about 60 miles away, and they would bring 2 buses in and then they'd bring a flatbed trailer with porta potties, and then they'd bring a stock trailer with about a dozen mounted horses with people on them, and that was if they were good behavior, they got their right to clean the grounds of LSU.
Wow.
And I remember, leaving late at night and everybody's still there partying, and then coming back the next morning and most of them gone, and they were cleaning up. And, you'd wave at them and blow their thumbs up. And so, it was, they loved their football. I mean, it was good stories about, one time Tuberville lit up a cigar on the cat, on the tiger head on the field. And the next time he comes, they have to, the agencies of enforcement had to protect the buses because they got to rocking them and back and forth, not throwing things. I'm talking about getting beside it, rocking it, and that perception that wasn't the same outcome as when that happened before. And so, there was, we took the game. The first game we were there, and we had the Hurricanes, and we took a home game. We were supposed to play Arizona State, and we took a home game in a matter of a week and took it to Phoenix and played that home game in Phoenix, and they just turned it over. And gosh, the Fiesta Bowl, and and you talk about that was crazy. And we had players that were, their apartments had 10, 12 people in them because they were from New Orleans and that area, and they just moved in with them. And you talk about, all the entire school was shut down, and you know what? The players didn't miss a meal because the boosters from booster clubs from the different cities in Louisiana would show up with their cookers, and they would cook for the team twice a day.
Wow.
And there was some things weren't real readily available, but they came up with chicken and food, and I mean it was incredible. So they loved their Tigers, and they were going to do whatever they needed to do to make sure that they were ready. So good stories, my gosh, and I'm going to tell them one more, and then I'll shut up.
No, go ahead.
In 2007, we play 12 games, and we do not lose a game. We tie 2, and so we still win the West, and we play for the SEC championship, and we win that game. And there were some other games going on, and I think we were 5th in the poll prior to the championship game. And we got back on the plane, and West Virginia was number 2, and they were playing Pittsburgh, who was 3-8. And as the game progressed, West Virginia was in trouble, and Pitt scored right at the end of the game. Of course, we're on the plane there coming back, and the pilot was making the comment, "Boy, guys, it's a close game." And at that time, that plane did not have TVs, and so he was telling us about it. And then he came on and says, "Guys, how about this? West Virginia gets beat by a 3-8 Pittsburgh team, and the entire team gets up on the plane, and they're just, and you got that, you think about a car and a bus and it rocking. Well, the plane up there in that air did that." And he came back on the air and said, "Guys, sit down now."
Yeah, please. What are you guys doing? Yeah.
Yeah, it was exciting. And then, 8 days later, we went to New Orleans. And, of course, Ohio State wasn't real fired up that they were going to have to play the national championship in New Orleans. And on the way down there on the Interstate 10, which is about an hour from Baton Rouge, the interstate were full of cars, and we had an 8 Harleys. I want to come back in my second life and be a motorcycle Harley driver. And but they were lined. The cars were lined the interstate, and we had those motorcycles, and I mean, they were sending their Tigers off to the championship game, and they were standing outside all the way to New Orleans. So, yeah, big deal now. Yep.
You know, it's a bucket list item, and I don't know if I'll ever now at my age. I probably won't get there, but I've always wanted to attend a football game in Baton Rouge, only because the TV versions when they were on looked like that had to be the ultimate atmosphere. Walking into if you're the opponent, walking into that atmosphere. Your first time out there, the first time you experienced that atmosphere, what was it like for you?
Oh yeah, it was. You know, that was after. You know, we had come back from Arizona State. We had won that game, and we had our first home game. We were supposed to have one that was canceled, and my good, Katrina and boy, just all kinds. They did a national TV show there, and so there was a non-conference game, didn't get to play it, and it was postponed, and so we finally were going to open the SEC season against Tennessee, and it was packed. It was electric, and the players and all of them were, just, the emotions and the families, and it was quite a show, and I can remember, they have a walk too, and walking down that hill, and it doesn't matter how old you get or how young, if that doesn't stimulate you to play your best. And so it was, the first half was our way, and both teams were spent. I'm talking about emotionally, and they were spent. We went into halftime, and we looked around. It was like, what are we going to do? We were ahead considerably. And they talked about how we was going to come back out. But you looked at those kids' eyes, and they were, from everything that had transpired, they were spent. And I'm sure it was on the other locker room, because the third quarter started with neither team wanting something to happen. Mm-hmm. But they got a little mojo working, and you know how that goes. That old blood gets to going again. And so anyway, the second half ends up in a tie. We go into overtime. This is the first home game that we had experienced, Coach Miles and the new staff, and with everything going on, and they win, and LSU is one of the only stadiums in the country that have the upright set not on one stand but on two, the old two stand for the goalpost, and the team runs through it and all that and out. Anyway, so I was standing down there, and Les comes off, and he says, I said, smiling, I said, "You okay, Coach?" And he said, he stops, and what you leave is you leave the field into the student section. And they're right. I tell you, they've been drinking the entire all the game, and, they had innovative ways to get extra excitement built into them.
I bet they did, yeah.
And so they boo, and they boo
really
loud boo. So it's the first home game, and it's after Katrina and all the things that surrounded the hurricanes and all that stuff. And so he looks at me and he says, "Boy, Mac, I don't think we're playing Kansas anymore."
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And ironically, he's there.
Yeah. He's there. That's exactly right. That's what I thought. But we went ahead. Didn't lose another game. Had two ties, But we finished up, and it was played in the bowl game, and it was a great deal. Yep.
I've asked you this a couple of times on our previous get-togethers, and I had the honor really of being around you for when I worked in the department. We saw each other a lot when Miles was there before you left, and I always admired the decision making that you had to get out of the coaching and into the administrative part of the game. Now, you still carried your competitiveness into the administrative part. There's no doubt about that. But I always ask you this, and I always wanted the answer, because I couldn't have done that. Having the coaching that I did, I was still drawn to the coaching end of it. But how were you able to make that transition a complete one?
Well, in '99, I was still coaching, and then in 2000, they had fired Coach Rader, and University of Tulsa brought another coach in, and again, there was no coaches kept except there was one, and they said there's an administrative position that's become vogue, was the director of operations, and they allowed that position to be created at Oklahoma State, and so I was thankful for that. And then, having been around Les and recruited against him, he was able to come back from the Cowboys and get the Cowboy job here. And anyway, so he asked, but one of those things I wanted those buses, I wanted the planes, and I wanted everything. If I died tomorrow, that you could take my itinerary, and I mean, it had phone numbers and contacts and everything, because I didn't want anything to take away from, because coaches talk about distractions and, the routine, if you will, and I wanted it all to be perfect. I wanted, if something had to change, I wanted to have already thought about it. It's kind of like, playing coverages in the secondary. You play more than one because people are going to adjust, and we adjusted, and nothing was ever perfect, but I didn't want it not to be, and I certainly tried the best to make sure it went smooth for the players and the coaches, and all they had to worry about was their job, and the other avenues that surround the operations was handled. And so, and there were some hiccups. I can remember 2 or 3 of them, and the thing about it is, Tom, some of that stuff you have no control.
Sure.
I mean, that plane, if it won't start,
yeah.
I mean, and then, in some ways too, you don't want to get up in a plane that's having trouble,
Yeah.
And so, as we know, and it's, golly. So, yeah, how about this year? We go to games and we take 8 buses, and it's a convoy of 8 buses. We had 12 players on a bus, and had a doctor and a coach, and worried all the way there and back. So, yeah, good stuff. I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be perfect.
Well, I've always said, I guess, and I wasn't around you as a coach, but I suspect you took the meticulous preparation as a coach. No matter where you were going to be prepared for whatever you're going into on the field. You took that to the administrative side, obviously, and there's the competitive value. I wonder why you didn't want you traded the whistle in, but I understood when you did, you took something with you from the field.
Well, I would like to think that I coached that way, and I can think back about there was the years at NEO when, gosh, had good players, Tom. I coached first-round draft picks in junior college, and they still needed guidance, and I wanted them to be able to, a lot of times they were good enough. You could just say, hey, you got that guy. Wherever he goes, you got it. But, from selfishly as a person trying to help people, you wanted to make him better than what he was when he came, and with his ability, he could take it someplace. And so, we worked at it, and I tried to come up with ways that would help their abilities succeed. And so, had a great time doing it. It didn't matter, Tom, what level. I can remember being a junior high coach and saying to myself in the mirror that, hey, we've got to find a way that I can teach these guys. And so it was fun. I still have a lot of enthusiasm. The motor still runs hot, and, but it was good.
You look at, and you have been and still are a great ambassador for the high school scene here in the state of Oklahoma, having coached a number of years and successfully as well on that level. And this is always kind of a cliche question for people who are old-timers like myself, have been around for a while. But it is true. I mean, kids back when you started out in the coaching ranks and worked your way all the way through the administrative end, they have changed. I mean, there's no doubt they have changed. Did you change with him, or did you try to stick to your own plan?
No, I think if you're going to be good, then you have to be able to adapt and change, and you try to teach those players that. I mean, you wanted to have a routine and want to have them be fundamentally sound and do things over, but there comes a point in time in games that you have to adjust. And so I'll tell this story, and I'll try not to call, but this kind of alludes itself that, you prepare for anything. And so we're playing in a playoff game. I'm the head coach at Wilburton, and we're playing at Hillsdale, and we played them once during the year, and they've beaten us, and this is the quarterfinals. And we had a pretty good football team, and it was late in the fourth quarter, and we'd gotten the ball, and we were behind 7-3. We'd kicked a field goal, and so we get the ball just past the 50-yard line going in on, getting the times running down. We call a timeout because we got to have something there. We can't get it there if we don't. So we call a timeout. And so the entire year in 1985, we had worked on running the fumble-rooski, and we had a little sophomore guard that could run, and we had some good seniors, and so we called timeout, and they come over there. The quarterback comes over, and he's a good player, and we had some tough guys, and they were out there on the field in the huddle. And so I said on my headset, I looked at a couple of coaches. I said, we had practiced this play every Thursday in the entire season, and it never worked. I mean, for whatever reason, we fumbled it or somebody was laughing about it, but we always tried to do it when no one was expecting it, so here it was, maybe the biggest play in that season, trying to advance in the playoffs. And so I tell the coaches, we're going to run the fumble-rooski. So one of them walks directly away from me. I got one standing right beside me, and he says, "No, we do not run that." And
wow.
then I've got one young coach in the stands, and he's screaming, and I said, he's got his headset. And then so I get him to calm down, and so quarterback looks at me, and he says, "Okay, coach," and he turns around and runs back in the huddle, and I can see him telling the team, and everybody in the huddle turns around and looks over at me at that bend. So, and a couple of those bad guys, they look at me and they kind of give me the thumbs up. So we run it, and this little 5'8" guard, about 175 pounds, and he goes around that right side on our sideline, and his dad was always on the sideline, and all of a sudden his dad sees him come out of there. And so he runs down the field on the outside of the, where it's legal. And he runs with his son all the way down the field there with him scoring the winning touchdown. And just great feelings, and golly, it's something that I'll always remember. And, the belief that it would happen. And, one of my cherished moments. Yep.
I would say those things still apply today, and there's no doubt about that. And the success you had before you went to LSU here, and now the success that Oklahoma State's had since you've been back. I mean, I could make an argument because I've been around here for 100 years, but we got as much talent and as much success as we've had here on football under Gundy in the last 9-10 years, whatever it is, that we've ever had. So this program is in great shape. Before we wrap it up, though, here's what I want to ask you. Now, you're not a crystal ball reader. You're probably just wanting to get to the next practice with your son, tomorrow. That's probably your biggest chore. But could there be a return in some form or fashion to a coaching spot on a high school level, or even as an analyst somewhere? Is that even part and parcel of your thought process?
Oh, you know what, Tom? I haven't truly. I'm retired, and I've enjoyed the week, and I'm not going to cross that bridge. I think everyone recognizes and should recognize there's a time, and it's maybe my time to be on the sideline and watch him and be a fan. Sometimes I find myself, my wife tells me I'm need to be careful what I say. Now, I'll say it under my breath sometimes, but I need to be careful what I say. I want to comment one thing, though. I tell you what now, the Cowboys, for 12 years, 12 straight bowl games, not a lot of people can say this now, and it's incredible. The talent and the attitude and the facilities that I'm just telling you, I've been in around all these others, and we're there. I mean, we have that, and that gives us a chance. And the fans are just, they've learned how to tailgate, and they've learned how to be a part and get into it. And if you're a player, you love coming out there because there's some traditions that are really special. So I love the Cowboys now, big time.
And again, you'd be the first to admit, and I'll put this out because you're one of these people I'm talking about, that it's a direct result of a work of a lot of people, coaches, players, obviously, administrators, those around who support the program, on we go. The list of contributors, if you will, to a successful program is extensive, and you're one of them. And I'm going to brag on you because I've seen your work up close. I've been part and parcel of your work over the years. You were just as meticulous as anybody I've ever been around with what you did as the director of football operations. They're going to miss you. I can tell you that. They've said they're going to miss you. But we could go on for about 6 more hours, and I'm getting the eye from the producer saying, it's about time to call it into this version and get them back on again some other time. But we will do it, Mack, and I do appreciate it, and I thank you from all the fans and all the people who have seen this operation run smoothly. You had a huge hand in it.
Well, I'm appreciative of you asking me, and it's great. It's my sister told me that I need to have a little journal, and I just need to write down every day whatever I think of something, just write a remembrance, and then put it all together where Jesse will have something to read about. So it's good.
I got you. Maybe we'll get together and do that book or whatever it is.
Thank you, Tom.
Hey, Mack, I appreciate you being on. We're gonna get back. I didn't even get to about a third of what I wanted to get to, but we'll have back on. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mack. See ya. That's Mack Butler.